Welcome back to another episode of Packing Up and Piecing Out, the podcast where two American girls spill the tea on what it really takes to move abroad. I'm Lili, an American in London, and this is
Taylor, an American in Prague. Welcome back, everyone. If you've listened to any other episodes of Packing Up and Piecing Out, you probably know that Lili has done her moves abroad solo, and I moved to Prague with my half English, half Czech partner. If you haven't listened to any other episodes, hello, thank you for being here. But of course, moving abroad solo or with a partner or like generally with your family is very different experiences from each other, and they can each come with their own benefits and their own challenges. So today we're going to be diving into those. But first, please do leave us a review if you haven't already. It helps us, and it only takes 5 seconds of your time. It's our holiday wish, and you guys are our Santas, so come through in your review sleds. But we're definitely due for a catch-up session. Lili, what has been up with you preparing for the holidays?
Yes, a lot is about to happen. I guess when this episode comes out, we'll be in full holiday swing. Things will be all happening. But very soon, my mom and brother are coming to visit me in London for the first time, which is crazy. Like, I moved here over a year ago, and they haven't come. I know my mom is listening, so I'm just letting her know that I'm salty about it. And they're going to come. We're going to do a bunch of different things. They're finally going to meet Lime Bike, which will be interesting. Will be really exciting. They're actually also going to meet Lime Bike's parents, which I don't know have your parents or has your mom ever met like Mark's parents?
Yes, my mom and stepdad met Mark's mom only once, I think. But yeah, when they came to Prague,
Right.
they met Mark's mom a couple years ago. Before we even moved here, we were here staying at Mark's mom's house, and they came to visit Prague for a week. So yeah, they did meet once. But obviously, when your parents live in different countries, I feel like it's something that happens later.
Definitely.
But for you guys, it's pretty quick, to be honest. Not like in a bad way, like, oh, they shouldn't meet, but like it's normal. I feel like it's about a normal amount of time, like a couple who lives in the same area.
Well, it's funny though because Lime Bike was him and his dad went to an Arsenal match together, and his dad was like, it's funny because his sister has been dating another British guy for 5 years, and they've never met like his parents.
Really?
Yeah, but I think it's sort of like it's like you don't really like the parents a lot of the times don't meet until you get married. I think that's pretty standard. Like, you don't meet until maybe you're engaged, like an engagement party or a wedding. Because it's almost like because they live in the same country, there's not this element of like, oh, my mom and brother are coming. They're probably only going to come max once a year. Probably not even once a year. Probably like every other year. So it's like, okay, might as well have a little intro. Why not have a little dinner together to get to know each other? But yeah, so that is on the docket. Very excited. Lime Bike is very excited to meet my mom. He's heard a lot, so it's it's gonna be fun. But yeah,
and then he's meeting up with you guys on a trip, isn't he? Somewhere else in Europe.
Yes, he's really diving into the deep end because not only is he gonna spend like the week in London doing a lot of things with us, at least after he checks out from his 9-to-5 job. He does have a real job. We're also going on a trip to Sicily, and he's gonna meet us there and spend like 5 days with us, so that should be fun. I'm hoping that we don't get into any too big of fights on the trip. I feel like sometimes family vacations can lead to fights. I don't know about in your family.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think just like emotions and tensions are so much higher when you're traveling with your family. It's so much easier to get annoyed at them, like for some reason.
Snappy.
So yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
But yeah, what is up with you? What are your plans for the holiday season?
Well, I'll be going home to the U.S. in a couple of weeks for Christmas and New Year's. But the main Christmassy thing, I guess, that we'll do before then is that tomorrow we have this big Christmas lunch with Mark's family. There's not gifts or anything. It's more that Mark's like extended family, like his cousin and his cousin's mom and just a bunch of people. It's sort of like this very... like extended where Mark's cousin is his half cousin. So then there's also Mark's cousin's brother who Mark is not related to like by blood, but it's just this big like family that comes together. I also don't know if this is like a European thing or it just depends by family, but it does seem that there's a lot of more like family mixing between like couples who have broken up or divorced. Like there's a lot on good terms. I don't know, maybe that's like not, and
maybe it's just like
European
happens to be
thing.
these couples and
Yeah.
on better terms.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the divorce rate is lower here, but that doesn't necessarily mean like couples are happier or anything like that. So, you know, I don't really know. But yeah, so we'll be with his big family for lunch. Usually involves a couple drinks, so have
Do you
to
go out
prepare
to lunch
for that.
or is
It's go out to lunch, yeah.
Okay,
Just like to a
yeah.
Czech restaurant, and then we'll be there for like 4 or 5 hours because we talked about this on our past episode about how in the U.S. you usually stay for 2
Impossible.
hours max. Yeah, I think last year we were there for like 5 hours, and they're totally fine with it.
I'm
and like
not fine with that
I know we kept ordering drinks,
at all.
but it's like
Not even in terms of the restaurant, more like I can't handle being sat at a table with people for 4 hours.
I know. Well, we had probably like 4 beers and like a shot of this Czech liquor, Slivovice, and afterwards we just fell asleep. Like that's a lot for a 27-year-old to have in one day.
Honestly, it's
4
way
drinks
too
and a
much
shot.
for-
Yeah.
But when you're sitting down and drinking, like all of a sudden you stand up and you're like, whoa, I've had way too much to drink. That's
Exactly.
why standing and drinking sometimes is a move. It really keeps you much more in
Aware
check.
of how drunk you're getting. Yeah, and I feel
that's
like
what the Brits do. They love to stand. They'll stand
Yeah, they do.
all night. Literally last night at the pub, there were people there for 5 hours standing the entire time.
and it seems like in European cultures more that they go like round for round.
Yeah.
Like I started drinking beer really more regularly when I would be with Mark's British friends because like we'd all be at the pub and then you go like 1 for 1 beer. So you buy the round, the next person buys. So then you're drinking like at the speed of the men that you're with. Yeah.
No,
so
I've
it's-
fallen into that. That is a
Yeah, it's
trap.
not good.
It's a
I know
trap.
it's
All
not
of a sudden
good.
you've had 5 beers in a matter of like 2 hours and you're
I
like,
know.
oh my God, I'm keeping up with a 300-pound man. This is not
Yeah, no.
This is not going to work out for me. But yeah, it is part of the culture. It's very much like everyone will buy a round, which is tough when there's like 5 of you. That means you're committed to buying 5 beers or to drinking 5 beers also. I don't always love that. I feel like it's good if it's 2 or 3 people. Like 3 people. Any more than 3, it's too much for me.
Yeah, and it was always be like 6 or 7 with Mark's friends, and then people would buy rounds of shots and like
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like in the US there's less, we don't have that same pub culture, so there was less of like buying drinks for your friends, going out to dinner, you're already like splitting the bill anyway, so
Yeah.
you're getting your own drinks, like it's just
Yeah.
different. But okay, I guess let's jump in to talking about moving abroad solo or with a partner.
Yes, let's do it. So as you mentioned, I have moved abroad solo 3 times. And you have only moved abroad with a partner. So we have 2 different perspectives. We can fight it out. Which one is better? Which one is easier? Which one is harder? All of that. But let's start with like making the decision to move abroad, doing it solo versus doing it with a partner. Obviously, when it's solo, it's all completely up to you. You're making that decision alone, which can be really great. It can be really daunting. It depends how you look at it. I feel like when I did it, I'd never been in a relationship. Like it was never even a possibility to even move in with someone or go on a trip. So it was just what I knew. And I found it really freeing and exciting to make the decision. Everything that comes after that, though, can be maybe more difficult than if you were in a partnership. But how did you find, I mean, I think it's different for you though, because you kind of always knew that you were going to have to move, given that you got into a long-term relationship with someone that's not from New Jersey.
Yeah. I think that the fact that Mark and I moved abroad together, so I didn't like move to his country, I think also makes it different, because that's a whole nother perspective of, like if you're moving in with to someone with their home country. So obviously Mark did spend summers in Prague, like I've talked about before, but he's definitely more culturally British than Czech. So yeah, I think the decision was there from the very beginning of the first day of our relationship that there was going to be moving abroad in our future. But the main thing we had to decide was between London and Prague, but thankfully we were pretty much aligned from the start of where we wanted to go and the reasons we wanted to move to Prague. But I could imagine that there's a lot of couples out there where one partner wants to move and the other one might not be as interested.
Definitely.
And I feel like that's such a hard dynamic because there's so many reasons why someone would not want to move abroad. We've talked about them, like if people want to stay closer to their parents for a particular reason. And it's sort of like one person might feel that they haven't fulfilled this dream that they have and the other person really doesn't want this. So I can imagine that that's really hard to be in that situation. Or if one couple has to move for their job and the other person gets dragged along, like there's a lot of different dynamics, I think, to moving abroad. But the one I'm coming from is like two equally willing
and excited
people move abroad. Yeah, definitely.
And you weren't just doing it. I think a ton of people that move abroad do it for work. And I would be so interested to talk to someone that moved abroad because their partner got a job. Maybe we should have someone on, and the dynamic that causes, because in a lot of those situations, if you're moving abroad because your partner got a job, you're depending on them so wholeheartedly. Usually you can't work for a bit or you don't have work for a bit. Like you're depending on them financially, socially, emotionally. So that would be really tough. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, in some countries you can't work. Like, I'm pretty sure in the US, when people come as a partner, when someone's on a working visa, your partner has a working visa, but you don't. So you can't even get a job. Like, you can't.
Which is crazy.
So it's like trying to fill your day. And I mean, obviously, if you have kids, there's that, or you could try to volunteer. But obviously, work gives people, you know, meaning and structure. And so I just like can't imagine that for long term, especially. I have a friend here whose boyfriend is on a Czech hockey team, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, so he's from Canada, she's from the US, so she came because of him. But I think they also knew that because of his hockey career, like he was gonna eventually get an opportunity to play in a different country, and they are planning eventually to go back to the US. So I think because there's like an end in sight. But she does a lot. She's like doing school online, so she's keeps very busy. But I can imagine that it doesn't always work out as well as that, especially if you can't work.
Definitely. And I remember when I moved to Australia, a lot of people that go there for the working holiday visas come as a couple, and many of them do not end as a couple, let's just say.
My gosh.
The trip, so I did a group trip when I first got there with 20 people, and probably there were 4 couples. Actually, I think for my group trip, everyone is still a couple, but that is rare. Like a lot of couples that move to Australia end up breaking up, I think because for a lot of factors. But one of them being like, one of them decides they want to stay in Australia and the other one is like, no, this actually isn't for me. I want to move back. That would be really hard to move with someone and have like a different response to the move. One person loving it and the other person not so much liking it.
Yeah, I know a couple couples who have gone through that situation, even in Prague, where they've like reacted totally differently and they feel totally differently about Prague, and one person wants to move back and the other person wants to stay, and that's so hard because you're always going to be taking that risk. I think for Mark and I, since he was, you know, his half Czech, it wasn't like we were moving to a totally random place that we had never been before. We had spent a lot of time in Prague, but yeah, like that is really hard, and obviously that is like a make it or break it thing in your relationship, because if you feel like a place is your home and maybe that person isn't like a part of your longtime story, if you don't want to go back and they do. So
true. And then when or if a couple breaks up after you've moved abroad, that would be so hard to deal with. Like if you're living together, do you decide, do you want to stay? Do you want to go? Like, that would be
well, I know
difficult.
on my visa, there's like, I haven't seen the exact rules written out anywhere, but since I am on a visa that's dependent on being in a relationship with someone who is a EU citizen, I'm pretty sure there's like a little buffer zone where if you were to break up, say a couple months after you got the visa, your ex could report you to the ministry, or I guess not report you, but like announce that you broke up, and you possibly would have to leave.
Otherwise, would you just be able to finish out the visa?
Yeah, it seems like
reapply?
Yeah, it seems like after a certain amount of months, again, there's no specific amount that I've seen, but people have asked me this, so I've looked into it, that they'll allow you to stay because now you do have a temporary residence permit, and then you'll just have to figure out, like when this is up, if you can get a different visa. The main one would be to get a work visa. But yeah, people have asked me that because being on a partner visa, but obviously the same could also go for a spouse visa or anything that has to do with a relationship if you get divorced. So
we should totally talk to someone that's gotten divorced after moving abroad.
Yeah, I've seen some posts.
I follow someone, I think, that moved to London and got married prematurely because of the visa stuff, and ended up getting divorced. And it's because I think so many people do get married prematurely because of especially in the UK, because it's a lot easier if you're married.
Yeah, well, they kind of force you to.
Yeah, they almost force you to. So even though recently I found out that's not like completely true, it's a bit easier and more of a long-term path. But like, I really would not want to get married for a visa, I don't think, because it feels really unromantic. It feels very complicated. And it's just like, why should you have to rush your timeline over this? I'd rather move to a new country where getting a partner visa is easier.
Yeah, that's why part of the big reason we chose Prague, because I really respect more. And also just in a lot of mainland Europe, I don't know as much about, I guess probably a bit the UK too, just like marriage is not as big of a deal because there's not as many tax benefits to being married. A ton of people
don't get married. Ever.
Yeah. Yeah, they just have kids together. Like there's not really much of a reason to get married except for like I've heard religious, or also I've heard it helps if you need to have like power of attorney if the person gets sick. But yeah, like in the US there's all these government benefits to getting married because they really push that nuclear family. But in Europe there's not as much. So I like how here, like, they just, if you can prove you're in a long-term relationship, then that's enough for them. And I feel like it should be, because just you can see that it shouldn't be, it's like a catch-22 of they in the UK force people or push their hand where they have to get married. But then it's like, if these people aren't ready to get married, they probably will be more likely to get a divorce. And like, I don't know. It just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I'd say let's talk a little bit about the logistics of moving abroad when you're solo or with a partner. Obviously, when you're solo, everything completely falls to you, which can be overwhelming. But it's also like, well, I know what I need to do. I'm going to do all of it. Just go through it one by one. Also, no one else is depending on you. Like, it's just
That's
you.
true, but Lily, I feel like you are really like self-motivated with things, and I feel like some people who move abroad or want to, they kind of need that push from someone. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think those people will ever move abroad, though.
Yeah,
I think
that's
almost
true.
everyone that moves abroad is a That's why but like 75% of the expats I meet, I want to be friends with them, because it is such a narrow, like, anyone listening to this podcast, I'd probably be your friend, because you were like the top 10% in terms of self-motivation, open-mindedness, like all of the things that I really value in a person. So like, yeah, I'm self-motivated for Gen Pop, but like in terms of expats, I would say I'm in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. I think there's so many people out there, and we have a whole episode about this, of like, or we do a whole episode?
About like the characteristics of someone that would
move,
I'll link that
who
in
are
the show
good
notes.
to move abroad, or people who don't ever move abroad. And yeah, I do feel like you do need to be more of a self-starter, and like if you need that push and that comes from a partner, that might not always be a good thing. It could lead you to the best decision of your life, but it could also lead you to the worst if it's not something that you're into.
Like, you should really want it. Obviously you did, but imagine if you met Mark and you were like, no, I really want to, stay in the US, and like, it probably it wouldn't have worked out. I mean, that is just a whole different person. Like, then you wouldn't be who you are.
Yeah, it's so different. And in our episode with Abe and Elaine, our last episode, they said from the beginning they also knew that he would move to her in California, and I think that it helped that they had that in mind, and Mark and I always knew that I would come to Europe. At the time, we thought, England. But I can't imagine being in a long distance relationship and trying to decide whose country you'll move to if both of you want to stay in your home country. I think that would really be hard.
I don't think those relationships really work out.
I feel like you need one person who is not only willing, but like eager or like excited. Like the prospect of moving to Europe, to me, I was so open-minded to that, even though I never in my life before thought that I would move to Europe. Just I'm such like not a homebody, and I wouldn't say Mark is either, but just I don't know, we didn't even have to have that conversation of who's it going to be. I was always like, I don't want to live in the US. Yeah. Like I'm down to move one day. New. Yeah, yeah. So I do think you kind of need that for a long distance relationship to be successful.
And then in terms of you moving, how did you guys split up all of the tasks and do it kind of in terms of the visas and the financials?
Yeah. Well, in terms of the visa, I was the one who needed the visa because Mark is a Czech citizen. So I would say most of the administrative tasks fell on me, obviously, because I'm the one who like needed to go and get health insurance and this and that.
You have all your information.
Yeah. But Mark would often be there when I needed to call and ask a question, because they do often speak pretty good English when you call the ministry. But sometimes, explaining nuanced topics, it's good to have a Czech speaker there. And then he would also need to come to appointments with me because they want your partner that you're applying to live with to be there with you. But yeah, I in terms of financial, like the main cost of the visa was paying for translation of like documents that I needed to translate, like work contracts and things like that are my financial documents. And we split the cost of that just because, even though this was my visa, I feel like we felt, like we made this decision to move here together. So, he's just lucky that he's the Czech citizen and he's not the one who needs to apply, but we did split the cost for that. I
think that's
But in terms of
good.
Joint accounts, I feel like I'm too young to think. I never really like thought about that. I don't know. I've always been encouraged, I think from a young age by my mom to just like keep my finances like my own. I don't know. I mean, I can't say like.
So you guys don't have a joint account at all?
No. I mean, we split everything. Yeah,
I feel like a lot of people though that move in together will get not a lot. I've just heard sometimes it's an option to get like a joint credit card and then put, a set amount each month into it. But you've decided not to do that.
Yeah, but I feel like, he just pays the rent and I just send him half. Like, I feel like that works for us. And I also just, I just can imagine keeping that separate for a long time. Like maybe it'll be different when we do buy a place, but I don't really see like a need to combine that. I also am like an obsessive budget tracker. Like even though I'm not the most thrifty, I like use Rocket Money, not an ad, but I use Rocket Money and I also use Excel, and I like track everything so specifically because I used to be really just careless with like if I got like a charge on my card that was like wrong, I wouldn't even know because I wasn't even checking. Like, and now I check everything so specifically. So I like I like just having my own thing. But in terms of like splitting the costs for administrative stuff around the house, I feel like it's the same as a lot of couples do. Like we split it pretty evenly, or if our income changes significantly, we'll change it based on like our income. But I would say the main logistic thing that Mark mostly handles is just anything that has to do with speaking Czech. So anytime we have someone who comes here to try to fix a problem, like we have a broken boiler, just Mark always is dealing with that. Which is nice because we kind of get these automatic tasks. So it's like I can't even do that because they never speak English. Yeah. So he automatically has to deal with those things, and so I just take on some of the other things. Yeah, I know,
because you have to deal with the plumber.
Because I don't like dealing with that stuff anyway. So yeah. But I will say that logistically, I think looking for an apartment, we did have different priorities, especially with coming from America and really wanting a place with air conditioning, which we don't have. But I did have that as one of my top priorities because Prague does get very hot in the summer. This summer, This past summer was a cold summer, so we didn't end up needing air conditioning anyway, but we'll see about next year. But yeah, Mark living in England, none of them have air conditioning there. So that's something that he never would think that you would need.
Yeah.
And even though Prague gets a lot hotter than England does in the summer, he just still has that European mindset of like, oh, we can just open the windows. No, I don't have that mindset. Honestly, though, there are
Just
tens
open the window. It's fine.
there are tens of thousands of heat-related deaths in Europe every year. There's a few hundred in the U.S. So clearly, like, they like to make fun of Americans for being so obsessed with air conditioning, but like there is a population health reason why having air conditioning in homes and in public places is very essential for public health. And I get it here. There's old buildings, but like window units are a thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had different priorities when it came to that. And I didn't compromise to his. That's not why we don't have
You're
it.
like, I did not compromise.
Yeah, it was just too hard to find a place that had AC that also had everything else we wanted. That was just kind of the reality. And so I just decided to forgo it with the promise that we would get a window unit, but we didn't need to this summer.
Okay,
so.
well that's fine for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just talking to Linebike about like looking at apartments, just not anytime soon, but just talking about things in terms of our different perspectives on homes. And he was like, I'm really fine with like a small place. Like he said the house that he lives in now is too big, and I was like, oh, okay. Like too big. He lives in a London house. It is not big at all. But like we from America, our houses are massive. I am honestly, I'm scared to take him home to see my mom's house because my mom lives in like quite a big house at this moment. I didn't grow up in that big of a house, but like compared to here, my houses were like massive, as I'm sure yours is. And the perspectives on size of home and like picking an apartment that is big enough, like I'm sure he'd be happy in half the space that I'd be happy in, because that's just like everything's relative.
Yeah, that's so true about the house sizes. Yeah, Mark was shocked when he saw my house also, but it's just like
that's how they are.
Yeah, they're just like so much bigger. And then especially if you went to like the south or something where the property tax and stuff is so much lower, I feel like the houses there are probably even more massive and like less expensive. So yeah,
doesn't it like having a big house in America? Sure, it definitely does equate to the cost, but not as much as here.
Yeah,
like,
no.
Yeah.
And like the value of houses in England, especially in like the southern bit of
crazy.
England, like they're more expensive than houses in the US. Like I feel like when I would look at the cost of villages near Mark, the houses in the villages were like half the size, but just as or more as expensive as my house in the US, what it was valued as. So yeah, it's not like that every American is just rich like people think. We dispel this a lot, but yeah, the house sizes are just bigger, and they're also made from obviously way more. They're way more modern. Like the houses in these villages are hundreds and hundreds of years old, oftentimes in England, and in the U.S. Our country is not very old, so the houses are often not very old either. So they're made of totally different materials, and the priorities are just different in 2025 than in 1600 when these houses in England were built. So
yeah, for sure. Let's talk about I'm actually so interested in the difference in building your social life when you move solo versus with a partner, because I think a lot of people might think it'd be so much easier when you move with a partner, but actually I don't know if I think that to be true. I think it might be harder when you move with a partner to build a social life. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the couple, but I feel like I've sort of built my social life almost entirely independent of Mark. Like I don't know, just right when I came to Prague, I really prioritized making friends. And to me, that wasn't necessarily finding friends who have a boyfriend that Mark can be friends with. Like, even though we do a lot of things together, like we are, very together like most of the time, especially since we both work from home. I don't know, maybe this is because we're from different places, or we always have had different friend groups. Like we're not a couple that comes from the same friend group or meets through mutual friends or anything like that, that I just never imagined us like having some big friend group. I mean, that would be nice, but I think it's also hard when you come in your 20s, you both work from home. Like, how do you find a friend group of mixed gender when you just arrive here? Like, it seems nearly impossible.
I feel like mixed gender friend groups only exist from university.
Yeah, and I've said it, I'll say it again. I don't have any interest in being friends with straight men. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't need
what
a
about,
mixed
like, your
gender
friends' boyfriends? Are you okay mingling?
Yeah, of course I'm okay mingling with them, and like they're
not,
great,
like,
but they're
you're
like
not looking to be
acquaintances.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
like it's not like I would text them and like be like actually
that'd
friends
be
with
weird.
them. Yeah, it would be. But yeah, like we'll always bring our boyfriends to things at home when I'm with my friends. But yeah, I don't know. I think mixed gender friend groups are a bit overrated. I'm definitely more focused on having friends with girls, women, not girls, adult women, other
Adult
friends.
women, to be clear. She's not
have
looking
gone
for
on
teenagers.
Yeah, no, not teenagers. It was funny because I did go once. I met up with someone from Instagram, and I was 26 at this point, and I didn't realize, but they were 19, and I was like, whoa. This is a pretty
That
big
happened
age
to me
gap.
once.
Yeah, I'm like this.
Immediately, I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't
Yeah.
say this, but I thought it. She said I'm 19. I'm like, okay, so this isn't going to work out.
Yeah, and like we still stay in touch on Instagram, but it's like that is too big of an age gap for me. Like
At this point, at 26, I feel like the youngest I could be friends with is 23.
Yeah, 23. Yeah.
Like, even when I meet 22-year-olds, I'm like, we can be like casual acquaintances, but
but
nothing more.
Yeah, I mean, you're just in such different stages of life, and especially in Prague with Czech people, a lot of them are in university until they're 26 because university is free here for Czech citizens until you're age 26. So a lot of them will stay in university until that time, getting master's degrees, extending their degree so they work at the same time. And also because your parents are obligated to financially provide for you until you're 26 also. So, like, there's not much of a reason to really, like...
Your parents are financially obligated to... That's crazy.
I know.
That is... wow. We should do a whole... Actually, we should do an episode on that, on, like, the differences between financial independence. Yeah.
Because I think in the U.S., I mean, I can't say for a ton of different European countries, but I was listening to an episode by this Italian guy who lives in Prague. He was on a podcast, and he said when you're a teenager in Italy, you don't have a job, like, and that he thinks legally you can't even get a job until you're 18. Like, I worked from the day that I could work when I was 15, and
I think I
all my
started
friends
working
did
at 15.
too.
I was a lifeguard. Yeah.
All my friends did too. But you know, if you're a student at
like
Cambridge or Oxford, you're not even allowed to have a job.
That is so crazy.
Like, what do you mean? Like, I worked all throughout college. How can you pay for things?
Is that like, it's keeping poor people poor though? Because that means that the only people can afford that are ones whose parents can pay for them.
Yeah, like, what do you mean students can't have a job? Like, what? Like, I worked all throughout college, and I think a lot of Americans do. Like, I think this is very different. But yeah, like, when the guy was saying like, like he was in a long distance relationship with someone who was in Prague when he was 18, and like he didn't like have his parents would pay for his flights because it's not like a thing to work at that age in Italy. And I'm like, what? I was literally working like freaking full time all summers when I was a teenager. Like, yeah. But we should have
we'll
a
do a whole episode
this.
On that. Yeah,
it seems like most Czech people I know also work, but I don't know about when they're like a teenager, but when they're in university, it seems like most of them have part-time jobs. So we'll have to explore
just to pay
a little
for
bit.
their nights out. I think you gotta.
Like your parents have to provide like
change.
food and housing for you and stuff. But yeah, that is like a legal thing here. Like they have to provide food and housing and basic.
Wow.
Like,
so I wonder when people are becoming parents in the Czech Republic, if they're like, wow, I'm going to be, in the US, you always say like for the next 18 years.
18 years. Yeah.
But in the Czech Republic, they always say for the next 26 years.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? But it seems to work here. I mean, obviously it's a small country, but the free college tuition, the going till 26, like it seems to work really well here for young people. Like it really sets them up well for life. But yeah, anyway, about the social life, one other thing I wanted to say is we have definitely gone on like double, I don't even want to call them like double dates necessarily, but like have met up with other couples. Well, I guess that is a double date, but that sounds like too formal. But yeah, we've met up with other couples, but I think when you're coordinating 4 people's schedules rather than just 2, it's like a lot harder. So it's hard to like see other couples like that regularly. And I don't know, I to me, like, I do get a little bit of an ick when couples can't do anything alone. Like,
such an ick.
I'm a very like independent person, and so like even sometimes like my girlfriends here, and they're so sweet for it, but they're always like, oh, Mark can come to like this thing we're planning, and I'm like, he doesn't need to. Like, thanks for inviting him, but like, this is like a girl's.
I don't think he's gonna want to come to our craft night where we drink wine and gossip about
sometimes
whatever.
Sometimes like a couple things he's like come to, and it's just girls, like especially if I host them here, because I'm like, you're already here.
Yeah,
but like other than that too, and I also don't feel the need, you know, I think it's nice that they extend the invite, but I feel like I wouldn't think to do the same necessarily. Like I wouldn't, I don't know, maybe that's also a cultural thing, but I wouldn't necessarily say to my friends, oh, bring your boyfriends. Like if we were doing
Depends
a
on
big,
what it is.
If we were doing a big party or like a big thing, but if the girls are just coming over, I'm not going to be like, bring your boyfriends. I don't know.
No, I'm going to say, actually, don't bring your boyfriends.
Don't bring them. Yeah, like this is girls' night.
Exactly.
But yeah, what I mean, you've talked a lot about making friends, but you know, do you think that even now that you have a boyfriend, like has that changed for you? I guess you have less time to like socialize.
Definitely
with
the less
friends.
time thing. I can understand. Yeah. So that's why I might say that like it might be a bit harder, because you just already have this person that, it sounds so negative, that takes up so much of your time. I mean, it's positive. It's like you want to spend time with them, especially now with Line Bike that I work in the pub like 3 weeknights a week, and he works a 9 to 5. So basically I get to see him on the weekends. So I have felt a little bit bad, like juggling seeing friends and seeing him on the weekends, because like that's the time that I have. And I definitely have not like even feigned to try to make a new friend since I started working at the pub, because it's just like schedule wise, it just ain't gonna happen. I've got friends, I've got Line Bike, and I have like Londoners Against Sad events. Like that's the only things I can really do with my week. But I do think when you move abroad solo, and if you don't have a relationship at all, like I didn't, you can spend every day trying to make friends. So it's really like your time is completely freed up to make friends and like build the life that you want. Which is like everything I talk about all the time on social media. So
yeah, there's more pressure to make friends, which could be a good thing, but yeah, could all,
I think it's like
there
you
are
need
pros
the
and cons of
pressure.
both. Yeah, yeah, because I feel like I could so see here, like you have a built-in person if you move with a partner to do something with every night, like go out to dinner, to always do something with on the weekends.
Yeah,
but yeah, so
whereas when you don't, it's like
you have to
get
find
up
people,
and go
or
make
else
a
you're
friend.
alone.
Like or you're going crazy. So you just have to say yes to everything. And I think that's really, you learn a lot of lessons that way. You learn like very quickly the type of people you want to be friends with and that you don't, when you're constantly saying yes to like little friend dates and trying new things. So if you are moving abroad solo, and like I would say that it's a good part of moving abroad solo, the whole like building a social life. Don't be afraid. Embrace it.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like I've just had a lot of that solo experience with my social life, because I feel like it's just been so separate from Mark.
And that's
and
good.
because,
It sounds like you've really made it a priority, but a lot of people don't. So make it a priority like Taylor has.
Okay, should we talk a little bit about relationships and dating then, since we're already talking about our partners? And I know you've talked about dating abroad a little bit solo, but like when did you kind of decide, you know, I'm not just going to focus on making friends, I'm also going to start dating a little bit?
I never decided that. It was just like completely, I'd always kind of dabbled in dating when moving abroad. And it got to the point when I met Line Bike, I was like, I was still just very much like casually dating, because why not? I'm in London. I'm going to meet boys with cute accents. It was very exciting. And then as I met him, I'm like, okay, I think I could see this going somewhere. So I think when you move abroad solo, like looking at it as just a part of your life is a really great way, because it's not putting too much pressure on the situation. I think if you're out there when you move abroad and you can feel this pressure because you're like, it'd be so much easier to have a partner here for everything, for visas, for your like future longevity in the country. But if you are out there feeling desperate to find a partner, I think you'll either attract the wrong people or like repel people.
Definitely.
So,
I mean, it's just true, I think, in relationships in general, that when you're not looking hard or even not looking at all, it seems like that's when you find the right fit. Obviously, not everyone, this is the case, but like, yeah, I think when you're just more desperate for something, it's easier to compromise on what you really want because you want a boyfriend so badly.
yeah, and I've never been the type of person to like want a boyfriend. It's always been the last thing on my priority list. So not to say like I always hate when people say it's when you stop looking that you'll find someone, because I don't really believe that, but I think there's some aspects of it that are true, and that you shouldn't be so focused on your dating life.
Yeah, well, just when you put yourself first and prioritize you and your friends. Yeah. Because, I think that people who really want it, you can't force yourself to, like, stop looking. Like, I think if people really want a boyfriend, it's hard to be like, okay, I'm just going to not want this anymore. But you just need to put that energy into thinking about
about you can still want it, but also want a lot of other things, basically.
Yeah.
But how has, for you, moving abroad, like, how is it? Do you think your relationship has got, obviously not to get too personal or anything, but like, how has it affected your relationship, do you think?
I don't think that it's affected our relationship really all that much, just because from the beginning of our relationship, we were long distance, and then I was spending a lot of time in England, and then we were traveling. So we've always sort of had this like different kind of nature to our relationship. So if anything, I feel like moving abroad has like settled us a lot more and has allowed us to like think more about the future and actually about eventually like getting married and eventually having kids. Like we would talk about those things before, but like now that you're actually settled in one place, I've always been really like ambivalent in terms of having kids. Like when I was younger, I didn't want them at all. But I think now that I feel like settled somewhere, I'm like, I guess I could imagine it happening. I still don't feel any nature in myself, like a maternal instinct.
Okay.
I really don't. But now I can imagine, and I think raising kids in Prague is such an amazing, like it's such an amazing place to have a family here. So I feel like now I can actually envision it happening. Maybe one day it will click where I'll actually want it. But I can't say that at the current moment.
You're young. Yeah.
I'm older than you.
Yeah, and you're young. I mean, whenever
True.
I was just on the, I had a doctor's phone call because of my blood clot. For those who don't know, I got a blood clot a few months ago. It's all good. But on the phone call, she's like, "So are you thinking about getting pregnant?" And I was like, "Who do you think I am? I'm 17 years old."
Yeah.
Like, who do you think I am? Are you suggesting
bride.
teen pregnancy? Whenever I'm at a doctor's office and they're like, "So are you thinking about getting pregnant?" I'm like, who at 26 years old is thinking about getting pregnant? And then
a lot of people.
I know, but like, I just can't imagine being that person in your 20s that's like actively trying to start a family. Not only because I just don't at all want that right now, but like, who financially can have a family? Like, I could not do that financially at all. So yeah, it's very,
I
very
can't fathom it, but at least I'm at the point now where I'm like, I can see it happening. Well, before I was like very like, meh, 7, maybe. But I will say that the one thing that I think has been hard is that I definitely have felt some jealousy of Mark with him knowing Czech, because I feel like a lot of things are easier for him than they are for me. And I feel like, for example, today we were talking about returning something at a package center, and oftentimes people who work in places like this don't speak English.
Yeah.
And for this return, there was something very peculiar about it where someone would have to explain to the package person, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the thought of going into a situation like this blind, not knowing if the person will speak English is really, really hard, because my Czech is still too limited to use it in that kind of setting effectively. Yeah. And I just like, I know this is just part of moving abroad and that it's makes me a stronger person, whatever, but I just do feel so jealous of Mark that he can go out into the world here and not have to ever worry about those things, because it's yeah, it's just so isolating, and it makes you feel so dependent on another person. And even I made a whole video about this, or I mentioned it in my video about shopping for a Christmas tree, but like, especially with shopping, like, it's such a repetitive thing of when you're at the mall or something, which I was yesterday. Every store, they come up to you and automatically speak in Czech, of course, and then you say, name Lupim Česky, I don't speak Czech. Like, it's just like a thing where it's like, you just want to be able to like sort of exist and not just having to always be like, I don't speak Czech. And one day I'll be able to respond in Czech, but like right now I can. And so it just like is always this constant thing of like, oh, you're different. And like every time I go to like Sephora, for example, when they're like, when I say I don't speak Czech, and then they say, oh, do you have a Sephora card? And then I'm like, yes. And they're like, a Czech Sephora card? And I'm like, yeah, I live here. I live here, babe. I might not speak Czech yet, but I do live in this country. Because, yeah, it's like a country-specific card. One from the U.S. doesn't work. But at the same time, I guess I understand why they assume that I'm a tourist. But then it just does make you feel like,
like, will
I don't
they
belong
ever
here.
accept me?
Yeah. Like, it's just a reminder of, like, you're
difference
fundamentally different. Because, like, whereas, you don't speak this language.
I feel that a little bit now, like, having a partner that's from here as well. Obviously not with the language, but I will say when we're at a pub and, like, he orders a pint and, you know, no one notices him, and then I say something and I can, like, feel people, like, look. Even though having a North American accent in London is so not unusual, like, most people don't even bat an eye. But also, mostly I feel it when he's like, oh, I'm going to see my mom this week. Like, the fact that he's so close to his family that they literally live an hour away, that sometimes the jealous feelings do arise, even though, like, that's...
Yeah,
you know,
that's the same,
that's just
honestly.
How it is.
We're with Mark's mom, like, a good amount, and he also has an uncle here, cousin. Like I said, we're seeing them tomorrow, and that's honestly one of the reasons we also moved here, because we thought it's nice to have family here. Like, even though it's Mark's, you know, biological family, I do feel like they're my family too, but it obviously is not, it's not the same, obviously, as being able to see your own biological family and like not being like a 8-hour flight from them. And like, there's definitely that jealousy there of like, oh, it's easier for you to be here, and it's harder for me. But then I feel like it's also easier for me in some ways in terms of making friends. I think as a woman, it's a lot easier than as a man who has a remote job. Yeah. So their life is so hard. But no, making friends is like a man in your late 20s who works from home. Like,
actually, like how does he do it? Like what
he hasn't really a ton yet, to be honest. Because like I think also because we do have his family and his cousin, he already has some connections, so I think he has had less of like a inclination. He does talk about it all the time, and he did go to some paddle thing, but it was like all the men there were just sports. But all the men there were there, they're not trying to make friends, they're just trying to smash it in your face. He said like they were just
do a co-ed sport.
Yeah,
that's my suggestion.
Honestly,
because the men at co-ed sports, they're much chiller than the men at like only male sports.
Yeah, because this one was like beginner friendly, like, and he had played like once or twice before, but he was like, the men just like all they wanted was to just literally smash the ball in every man's face, and the games would be like 20-0, and then some guys every time would still just go smash Matt. Like, how is that fun for you? Like, what's wrong with you?
Men,
so
it actually like shows the fundamental flaw in masculinity.
Why does that make you happy to just continuously, I guess, like try to humiliate another man by being like, I'm better at this sport with you? Oh God, I could so imagine.
I mean, I've had like full 250-pound men run into me, like fully, and then not apologize multiple times over, and I'm like, actually, who raised you? Were you raised in a fucking barn? And then the second the game is over, they're like, oh, they're so nice and pleasant. It's just during the sport that they turn into monsters. But anyway, like that's scary. My recommendation.
So I think that did leave a bad taste in his mouth, but it's also, since he works so much and he is trying to get another job, I think like it's hard because of that too. But regardless, I do think as a woman it is easier. So, you know, there are things that are easier for him here, and there are things that are easier for me. But I would say that's like the one thing that comes to mind. And I wouldn't say our relationship has, you know, been negatively impacted at all because of this. But I do sense myself feeling that jealousy sometimes and wanting to
Yeah.
be like, you have it easier than I do. And I know
Yeah.
that's,
Sometimes
not
I just
always
say
the
it
case.
though. I'm like,
but
that'd be nice. Like, isn't that
Yeah.
nice that you get to see? Well, I always say it when he talks about seeing his dad. I'm like, must be nice.
it must be nice.
Must be nice. But
Okay, should we do a
Yeah, we
couple-
should do
yeah.
a bit of a wrap up. Pros and cons. Or should we vote? Like, what do we think is easier? Easier / No, let's just do pros and cons.
Yeah, because I feel like in our situation,
Uh-huh.
it's easier for me.
Yeah.
But I
definitely.
think in certain other relationships who move abroad, it could be
Yeah.
harder for them. So I don't know, because we're just two great couple. We just work so well together, so it's been pretty easy for us. But
yeah,
yeah,
I
let's
think
just smash through
actually,
some
it's
pros
such
and
a
cons.
test. Some pros. I think for moving abroad solo, a big pro is the fact that like you are totally free. Like everything is up to you. It's the most independent you'll ever be in your life, and it really shows you like your strengths and your weaknesses. That's what I've learned so much about myself because it really is just me. Obviously the con of that is it can be really lonely. It can be really tiring. You have no built-in support, no family. Everything falls on you. So like to every pro, there's obviously a con. But what have been like the biggest pros and the biggest cons?
The biggest pro, I would say, is having a built-in companionship and support, someone who is there who's also going through similar transitions to you. Like I said, Mark's transitions maybe to Czech culture aren't as like shocking to him because he's a lot more used to it. He speaks the language, but it's nice to have someone who can provide that like emotional stability. Also just like being able to share the experience with someone, like, or building this story together has been really nice. The cons, I would say in my case, the lack of independence, especially because I don't speak Czech, so needing to rely on the other person, needing to rely on Mark for help. And I think we're both though like very happy here, and we've really enjoyed the past year and a half. So I think that we're lucky and have a very similar mindset of wanting to stay. But I could imagine if that changed, that would be a really difficult conversation to have about if one person wasn't liking Prague. But I think we see it super similarly, and we'll plan to get married at some point, and then I will like, it's not a spouse visa, but then that will enable me to have a more long-term and permanent residency. So I think we really have like a good plan in place for us. But yeah, I think definitely a lot more pros than cons, but obviously nothing is ever perfect. So it's good to make sure that anyone who's considering moving abroad or has gone through this themselves understands that there's always two sides to everything.
For sure. And I think like moving abroad with a partner is amazing, but only if you're with the right partner. So like don't do it with someone that you're not pretty darn sure about, or that you don't have a backup plan for if it doesn't work out. Because imagine if you break up, like, wow. Yeah, you definitely have some extra savings.
Yeah, and I feel like there's this big like, and I'm not like against this for the plot mentality, but like I feel like sometimes women use it to like
make crazy decisions.
Like, oh, I moved
bad
abroad
ones.
with someone I met last week. Like that
Would never.
is probably pretty risky and like could put you in a bad situation financially, or just a lot of things, being so far from your friends and family with a guy that you don't know. I don't know. I just, obviously a little spontaneity is good, but at 27 and a half almost, things aren't really done for the plot.
No, not without a backup plan. Yeah. Should we do a segment? Do you have a missing on the menu?
I was going to think of it on the spot, but
Okay, we're thinking of it on the spot. I can think of one on the spot. I am missing anything that requires canned pumpkin, because you can't get it here. I didn't have pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie. I miss pumpkin pie. I miss pumpkin muffins. I miss pumpkin bread. I miss all the things that require, even I've had like pumpkin curry before. Here, if you want to get a pumpkin can, you have to go to a specialty like health grocer, and it's £4 for a can. So
You can't get canned here. I tried also. You just
Yeah,
have
like,
to
you
get
have
a
to buy a
pumpkin and make
pumpkin.
puree. Yeah, you have to make. I made pumpkin puree myself.
Which, I mean, I'm not opposed to doing, but I would rather just have a can.
Yeah.
That's my missing. I mean, it's more like an ingredient, but I miss all the things having to do with pumpkin.
For me, I'm going to say like sauces at fast food restaurants, like McDonald's honey mustard, Chick-fil-A sauce, because I don't know if people realize, but at fast food restaurants, they have different sauces in different countries and regions. So like the sauce we have at McDonald's in the US is not the same sauces as they have in Europe. So yeah, I'm missing some like Chick-fil-A sauce especially. I mean, there's no Chick-fil-A obviously outside of the US, but just like McDonald's honey mustard, honestly. Like they have hot honey here, and sweet and sour.
Yeah.
But they're just not the same.
Okay, good thing. Well, good thing you're going back soon. Maybe you can like buy some honey mustard.
Yeah, just buy a bunch of little packets.
Exactly. Well, great. That's all for today's episode of Packing Up and Piecing Out. Let us know in the comments of this episode if you've moved abroad solo or with a partner, and which one you think is easier, so we can start a fight in the comments. And don't forget to leave us a rating and a review wherever you listen to your podcast, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye. That's all for this episode of Packing Up and Piecing Out.
If you liked it, hit subscribe, follow us at Pack Up, Peace Out, and leave us a review. It helps more packers up and piecers out find us.
And for more of our unfiltered takes on life abroad, follow me at Taylor Takes Prague.
And me at A Rich Woman's World. We'll see you at the airport.